but there's a flank from the backside from SKillous as well, getting right on top of the Hellborn. That's the big deal. The Magmadons are going to waltz on forward once again, getting on top of all of these Exos, but they're not going to die just yet in the concave. The surround coming out of SKillous in this game is fantastic. All right, here we are. This is probably the best series, the best single series that was played as part of EGC, as part of that $10,000 tournament. And at the bottom left, he's the Vanguard player. His name is SKillous. Upper right, in the red, in this Katowice qualifier, he's a Zerg player in StarCraft, but here in Stormgate, he's playing Infernals. It's Elazer, as we can see, he's going to go for the build that he has kind of popularized. I don't know if he's the one that invented it, but he's certainly been the one that's kind of been pushing it forward and has been leading adoption of it. And that is this single conclave opener. SKillous is being super annoying, actually, with this scout, getting one of these imps very, very low. And actually, as a Elazer here, you got to be careful. Yeah, he's just going to lose the imp very quickly, which is not what you're looking for. But again, notice what's happening right here, right now. This is 3 imps on a Therium mine pretty much as quickly as possible. You're getting enough Therium for 1 to 2 imp or 1 to 2 fiends. I'm not totally sure. It's kind of hard to tell from the replay. But you want to make sure you get this gaunt up. You pull the imps back down so you can take the natural ASAP. We're going to see that happen pretty quickly. And the whole point is you want to get away with getting your natural with 1 gaunt. And in fact, notice he pulled the second imp down, not to build something, not to go and build a Shroud Stone really early or do something like that. He pulled it down there strictly and specifically so he could go and get that natural down. And also you defend the gaunt because 1 dog does beat 1 gaunt. So you got to be careful there. And well, we're going to see a second conclave go down very quickly. Nice little spot that this gaunt can hide into, this little bunker that it can sit in. So the second conclave is now on the way. And the Elazer's not going to move out for a while with this. 1 gaunt, 2 gaunts. They don't cover anything. They don't kill a creep camp all that quickly. So instead you open 2 gaunts, you move out to like 4 or 5 gaunts when you have the second conclave done, and that's when you start trying to take the creep camp. Meanwhile, we're going to see SKillous go and play pretty dang greedy here in this game number 1. We are currently 2 minutes into this game. Actually, no, I think we're going to keep this observer UI up. It's not the ugliest, prettiest thing because we can see the rest of it, but the game clock is important. So we are going to do that. Anyways, SKillous taking his 3rd base incredibly quickly here in this game number 1. Apparently this is a build, by the way, that has been making the rounds in the Discord. I was not necessarily aware of it before this weekend, but I've seen like 1 or 2 players do it on kind of at my level, which is like top 200 or so, top 150, depending on how much I'm playing. And at that level, a lot of these aggressive Infernal openers they just kind of kill it. So doesn't feel all that great. But again, because Elazer went, and this is, I think, something that SKillous is reactively doing, because he sees that Elazer went for the single conclave opener, conclave, shrine conclave into, a bunch of gaunts, 3rd base on the way before 4 minutes at 3:15 or so. He knows that he can be greedy. So the dog is being annoying. The dog is just sitting here in the Luminite line, but of course nothing's going to kill it. Not easily. Even with the infest on top, it's 10% damage. A scout has 50 HP, so you do 5 total damage, and yeah, you're going to be fine. So for now, we're going to see, well, the resource camp is going to get taken by all these gaunts. It's just kind of way you want to eat the white health on it and really take no green health. And well, 3rd base is going to go up from Elazer right now as he continues his rotation on over to the Cyril camp, the goat camp, the speed camp. Although this was nerfed a little bit. There used to be 5 goats. Now there are 3. So it's about 20, or excuse me, about 40 less Luminite in the camp. 2 less fiends that you can get out of the camp. So that does slow things down just a little bit. This fiend scouts out, says, oh, what's happening here? And, well, he's going to see that there's double racks. There's a biokinetics lab, which tells you one thing. And this is actually something that Kiwian used to great effect. And granted, it was a little bit different because this is a very quick 3rd base. Kiwian was doing his builds off of 1 or 2 bases. But we see this idea of, well, Lancers are really good against gaunts. Lancers with biokinetics or with kinetic redirect are really good against gaunts. So we're going to see that go down pretty quickly here. This means, of course, that Lancers, the more they take damage, the faster they move, the faster they attack, up to plus 25%, plus 25%, which makes them extremely speedy. That's what we're paying attention to. Is again, SKillous third base is going up really nicely. We're seeing a couple additional barracks go down. And again, SKillous is just kind of macroing up at this point. This game, I apologize for edge pan. I don't think I can turn that off, so I'll just do my best to keep my mouse in the middle of the screen. This has been a pretty uninteractive game one, which is not, again, not the worst thing. It's kind of reminiscent of a TVZ, maybe, where you have two players going and they're playing this game, and it's a really awesome matchup in StarCraft, but it doesn't really get started for the most part before like 6 minutes, 7 minutes, something like that. So that's kind of what we're looking at right now. Although it does bug me a little bit, or it irks me, I guess, when I see these players, I see people talking about how, well, you know, Infernals are just Zerg and Vanguard are just Terran. Which, like, aesthetically, sure, maybe. There's a bunch of blue on these units, but first of all, Terran has no melee units. Like, kind of one of the hallmarks of Terran, and that every single unit is a ranged unit. But on top of that, Terran is very much a race where you're okay with trading units now. Like, you're just trying to trade more cost effectively. Vanguard is all about keeping your units alive and having this veterancy mechanic. Much the same way that we talk about Infernals as, oh, you know, Infernals are clearly Zerg. Well, Zerg is a fast swarmy race, and yeah, you can build a bunch of Gaunts, but they kind of suck. Any useful unit that you're going to get, any Hellborn, any Weaver, any Magmadon, is slow, it is expensive, it is positional. So realistically, like, Infernals are a mix of, like, Protoss and Zerg, maybe, and I guess that means pure Infernals are, or with the Xel'Naga, or the was it the not the Xel'Naga? What was the faction that, or what was the race that was the mix of Protoss and Zerg, right? Purity of form and purity of form and purity of function. That is the whatever it's not the Xel'Naga. Can't remember. Anyway, yeah, clearly that's what the Infernals are. They're purity of form, they're purity of function, everything has horns. Sure. Anyways, this is a ton of Lancers right now, and a couple Exos as well. SKillous is going to try to dive on top of Elazer. One Shroud Stone's going to go down very quickly. But I like the concave that Elazer's setting up right now. He's making it so that even as there's a ton of splash on these Gaunts, and it is a problem, he's minimizing the damage that he's taking. And now a Shroud Stone becomes manifest. He's going to poke down a decent amount of these Exos before falling down. That is expensive. That is 50 Therium. But at the very least, we are seeing some Imps get, or some Fiends get converted here. Some of the Gaunts are going to go down. But Elazer F2s runs through the rest of things. And he is in a bit of a rough spot right now. This army, this continuous rally of blue coming in from SKillous is going to be a significant problem. But as you add in these Weavers on top of things, that is, what is that? 1500, 2250, 2150? Yeah, no, 2250 HP off the top. That is a ton of tankiness that's able to get added on top of this army. That is 10% damage off the top on this. What is this? I forget how much HP Elazer has, but anyway, much higher HP unit. So, yeah, you know, an Exo has 75 HP. A Lancer has, what is that, 150? 150 or so. Trying to count the number of boxes. Yeah, it's something like that. 125 at 150. So a single Weaver Lash does 20 damage, or does like 30 damage or so. A single hit does 13. Like, they start to do a decent amount of damage. They chunk through these Lancers a lot better than a ton of Gaunts do. So we're gonna see this fight happen in earnest, or you start to get pushed back. And again, Weavers are really solid. They can break this bio ball up just a little bit, but the problem is you add all these Exos and the Weavers will die, so these Shroud Stones will fall down as well. Elazer trying to buy the time to get them up, and well, two of them are going to get canceled. One of them I think gets killed, and the more Weavers they start getting added in. Of course, these Exos are starting to get pretty low, but as they gain veterancy, they heal up just a little bit more, but they are starting to get tremendously low here. Skill is not interested in keeping these things alive. He wants to end the game right now, but at this point, I don't think that's an option anymore. His opponent's reinforcements, and this was expensive from Elazer. He committed a ton of animus to keep this alive. He manifested a Shroud Stone. He used Hellspawn Resurgence on several of his production structures to get things up. But at the end of the day, he's another day older. And at the end of the day, he will survive. So we can see again, the Vanguard player is going to try to run forward. Elazer, this is his playstyle. This is pretty much how no other Infernal player plays. There's going to be cancel on the Shrine. But this is kind of a different playstyle from pretty much every other Infernal player at the high level. So you're going to see parting, and he's going to hit you at 7 minutes with a bunch of imps and gaunts, and it's going to be painful. And that's totally valid. You can play aggressively like that if you would like. But Elazer's like this one Infernal player that plays incredibly defensively. He's just going to set up his line of Shroud Stones and ever so slowly try to take the map, ever so slowly try to push away as a couple of these Lancers get infested. But we can see, yeah, this is 10% HP over 10 seconds, minimized by kinetic redirection, or not by kinetic redirection, but minimized by the basic Lancer passive. You don't do a ton of damage. So SKillous continues to put damage on this north side base as he takes a Luminite base for himself. He's taken this Luminite base for himself. And we do have to point out that there are only 2 ore patches that SKillous has access to. In fact, he only just started taking this one. It is very heavily enriched, which means that he is, again, he's going to sit on this Lancers. The ore is just going to be committed tiny bit into the Exos, but really that's about it. Which means medtechs are going to be slow, which means Sentinels, for example, are going to be slow, which means this next round of tech is going to be pretty slow here. This feed and run by is actually really solid, but it's not necessarily targeting things down. So a lot of them, man, so many of these bombs get very low, but not a lot of them go down even without overcharge. So Elazer, at the very least, is aware of this bottom side base. That's nice. As the pressure continues to happen, more Shroud Stones are going to go down. It continues to just be expensive for Elazer to stay alive in this game. But again, he's going to have a lot more ore. He's going to have a ton more of this tech resource. As we see, you know, 5 Shroud Stones on this base, 8 more Shroud Stones on this base, a couple more at the front. Elazer's like, yeah, this is fine. I know you want to continue to do it to attack into me. I'm going to make this very expensive for you. So the problem is 5 Shroud Stones against this army, against how tanky Lancers are, I don't think it's a ton. But instead, well, yeah, there's low-hanging fruit. There's the exposed underbelly of the Infernal player, even as we talk about pushing into the third base of Elazer and getting damage done there. Well, there was a free shrine, and that will go down. It has not mined anything. There's going to be free gaunts as well. Hey, don't mind if I do, says SKillous. But now there's a drop in the main base on the other side. Finally, we're seeing these drops start to show up. 8 gaunts in a Doombringer. Hot pick up there as the overcharge gets popped and the army returns. But this is where SKillous starts to have to be a little bit more careful. There really is not a lot of static defense available to him. He's got just 1 sentry post, but there's nothing inside of it. No flat cannon, no Exo, no Lancer, nothing like that. So it's not going to do a ton of damage. And the problem as well is we're going to see these medtechs do copious amount. No, I'm kidding. Medtechs don't do much. But you do have to be careful, right? Because you can't target down the Doombringer. There's a bug where if you A-click, we have to target it down, excuse me. If you A-click on it, things just, or they're a problem. They don't die. So we're going to see the gaunts go in, a bunch of fiends there on top of this line. And that means SKillous, he's going to have to spend a lot of time making sure this goes live. But on the other side, well, he's got a ton of Exos, a ton of Lancers. They're really not going to take a ton of damage from these Shroud Stones. So they're going to proc their passives. They're going to blow things up. And this is going to be another dead base going down the wayside by Elazer. So yeah, he's being annoying with this drop. Absolutely. But there is enough static defense to maybe distract. No, there's not. A lot of these gaunts, or a lot of these mobs get tremendously low. But he does lose another base. And that is really not what you're looking for. So on the other side, again, we're going to see this aggression show up. The base is dead, absolutely. But the question now is, what more can SKillous find? Is, for the moment, notice what Elazer's doing. So not only is he going and dropping on the ore lines, because that's a little bit more sparsely defended. This is a game where there really are only two ore lines. Finally, this is going to get targeted down, I think. Is SKillous going to get this? No way. That's like 5 HP. Maybe, just maybe the sentry post, but you're going to have to target manually, and it's not in range anyways. Meanwhile, other side, yeah, you're too many weavers. You're not pushing into this. As we see the Magmadons have been added right now. Shadow Cleft is on research. But hey, there's going to be another free shrine. So that's going to go down. Meanwhile, left side, this is going to be a ton of dead. The Bobs, they're overcharged, so they take 50% less damage. But they're going to get pretty low. So you're going to either have to repair those up if you're skillless. And that's actually something that players like Kiwian, like Lucifron, or Kiwian, I guess. I think that's how you say his name. That Kiwian, like Lucifron, they all do very well. And that when they are, after they get harassed like this, they make a point to go and repair every single one of their mobs. It's free. Why not? So you make it so that any follow-up attack is really not going to do all that much. Is, man, this siege setup, this defensive setup that we have set up by our Inferno player is a bit of a problem. That being said, what you would like to see here is, yeah, SKillous attacking into this without any sort of higher level tech feels really, really hard. Nightfall Infestation on top of the entire army. Shroudstone Manifest on the high ground. And that should be targeted down because, again, once something does damage to you, it gives vision. So, hey, you can target that down. But without Atlases, without Sentinels, without evacs to micro the Atlases, the tech here of SKillous' army is a little bit lacking. The size of Elazer's army is really nothing to look at lightly. I mean, this is significant armies. Now we got a bit of a, what is this, a 5 Magmadon, 4 Gaunt run by? I mean, that's just a little bit wild. But the drop, not going to go down. Takes heavy damage, though, from the Exo turret, from the Flak turret. Meanwhile, fight happening on the left or on the right side. All the Magmadons are going to walk on forward, but eventually, Roddies are going to have to leave the club, and that means you can actually start to cut away. You can start to kill these off. And now the problem right now is you take a look at it, the med techs are trapped. They cannot run through these trees. Everything else can, so you got to be very careful how you take the fight. And the map will get covered in Shroud, but there's a flank from the backside from SKillous as well, getting right on top of the Hellborn. That's the big deal. The Magmadons are going to waltz on forward once again, getting on top of all of these Exos, but they're not going to die just yet in the concave. The surround coming out of SKillous in this game is fantastic. And make no mistake about it, yes, we are seeing some of this Vanguard army fall down, absolutely, but the reinforcements are doing so very much. And this army out of Elazer is pretty damn expensive. In fact, look at this SKillous. He's taken the north side base out of Elazer now. I think one single Magmadon is going to clean that up for now. But as this fight happens more and more, we see System Shock go down. These Lancers are so fast. Actually, kind of insane how fast they're going to be, but this concave is very, very, very hard for Elazer to deal with. Actually, some of the Bobs are going to get pulled. They want to mine out of this north side base. That's the big deal. They want to take this money away from Elazer. Now, this concept is very, very fair in an RTS game. You want to go, and if you can deny money from your opponent and mine it from it yourself, it's going to be really solid. But because of how slow it takes to mine bases out at this point, and kind of in the context of how a game generally goes, I think that matters just a little bit less. Is now the Dragon's out, so we're going to see that 500, 300 Animus. Heavy investment coming out of Elazer, and we're going to have to see if that's going to bear fruit. So the way you generally play this, you have the Dragon, and it can be very powerful in a straight up fight. Absolutely. Just drops Infest on top of everything, and then, well, sucks up the rest of the Infest to make sure that it stays alive. But the Dragon can be a mainline battle unit for a time. But especially as we're going to see this command post not go down. It's going to get repaired on up, and more Bobs do have to join the phrase. We see them getting rallied across. Eventually, the Dragon's going to take damage. I mean, there are a ton of Exos. We got some level 3 Exos, max veterancy Exos, just do a ton. Eventually, the Dragon's going to get down, its HP is going to fall a little bit, and it can get bursted. So at that point, it kind of turns into this more harassment unit. Like we see, well, Elazer's using it like that right now. Because again, Elazer's not in the best spot in this game. His base count is low. His army was heavily diminished. But he's able to distract SKillous by quite a bit here with this Dragon by being obnoxious, by converting so many Bobs into Fiends. Of course, the Dragon has that aura where every time one Fiend gets dropped, or every time one Fiend gets spawned, a second Fiend gets spawned as well, or +1. 2 Fiends are going to spawn, you spawn 3 Fiends instead. So that is always going to be tremendously nice here, as a lot of the army was forced on the left side. So that's going to be Elazer's opportunity. He stomps right on top of so much of this army, and these Bobs are just going to have to run away. They're free fodder for Fiends. Let's say that one 5 times fast, but they're free fodder for Fiends. And this base of SKillous will go down, but it's got a base trade on the left side. Shroudstone again gets manifested, but that should get targeted down very quickly. So many of these Shroudstones, in fact, are going to get targeted down very, very quickly. And that's going to maybe open the soft underbelly of the Infernal defense up to this army of SKillous, because the right side, well, actually, he's kind of winning this fight too. He can't fight the Dragon. There's just not enough Exos for that. But he can get damage done to it. He can beat all the army on the ground. But if the Dragon on top of him with the free invest, yeah, you know what? He can beat some of these Fiends, absolutely, sure, fine. But there's an infinite number of Fiends. This Dragon will kill off the rest of it. Lancers are not great against Dragons because, well, the Dragon is the highest single target damage unit, at least for Infernals. Maybe even in the game. Maybe in Atlas is more, I'm not sure. But that means it punches through the Lancer armor. Again, Lancers are 0 armor units, but they 3 damage reduction. So 3 damage off the top is just removed. So Gaunts are pretty horrible, pretty bad against Lancers. Lancers do a lot of damage to them. They do literally 3 damage a shot. It's pretty bad. In the meantime, though, dragons do insane damage. So, you know, 3 damage off of 30 or 40 or 50 or whatever it is. I don't remember. Whatever that number is significant. It's insanely significant. Is much less significant, I guess. You know, that's 6% instead of 50% damage reduction. So, dragon again, much more effective here as now SKillous continues to push forward. The Shroud Fall has been dropped, so that is going to heal everything up and give pretty much the entire Infernal army about 13% more HP, which is again a big deal. But the Lancers are going to get their passive proc by the passing Magmadon. They're going to run forward, and now the Shroud has not fallen anymore. The Shroud Fall is gone. This dragon has to be so very careful. System shock on some of the Exos to try to run forward and chase it down. Also to remove the Infest on top of them, and to just remove that ticking damage that's being added on top of things, which again is pretty important because, yeah, you know, it's only 10% over 10 seconds, which 10% is still something, but it does matter. Now we're going to see it getting right on top of these Hellborn right now. The X's are not getting targeted down, but the splash units, Magmadons, are going to try to move on top. SKillous, well, it's a little bit awkward. He A, moves his entire army backwards instead of pulls the X's back and lets the Lancers still fight. Even still, we're going to see more Magmadons go down, and the high ground here is going to get started. And again, well, we're going to see the backwards system shock. Those little electric particles you see here is the system shock. As the army continues to try to retreat here, medtechs are starting to go down, but again, that system shock usage is so nice. Meanwhile, a couple Lancers on the right side. Elazer has retaken this base that SKillous took, that Elazer took. So he knocks down some of the static defense, but a single Magmadon is going to force him out for now. In this game, I know I said it when we started the cast, but this game is probably the single best map that was played in the entirety of the EGC tournament. I don't think that's an exaggeration. Which is a shame because SKillous is currently 0-2, I think. He's got to win this series to go in and even maintain a chance at qualifying. If he loses to Elazer, who, by the way, he's number 4 on ladder right now. If he loses to Elazer, well, he's just, you know, a real rough spot. So, Elazer is now pushing forward. We got a ton of army on the right side, medtechs and Lancers and Exos. I mean, this is a significant task force coming out of SKillous on the right side, trying to knock this base down. You got to be careful because the army is right there, and yeah, this is SKillous's army. A significant component of SKillous's army is trapped away. System shock is going to get some of these units out, but still, that's a lot of Lancers. That's a lot of Exos, and if your mind is still kind of stuck in this, you know, it's a single Marine. How much can it cost? 50 Illuminite? No. Lancers, Exos, they are very expensive. Medtechs as well. But this run by on the left side is going to shut down a ton of these imps. This is actually a really nice move coming out of SKillous, making the best out of what is a bad situation. He lost a lot on that right side. And again, we are lacking that tech. We are lacking the Atlases, and we are lacking the the evacs and this ability to hot pick up micro and move around. Maybe missing some hedgehogs to try to snipe try to go and snipe the dragon down, which is a pretty cool move that you can do. So evacs can hot pick up any deployed unit. It's not just an Atlas. That Atlas is what you're thinking of when you go for this, but you can also go and you can hot pick up a deployed hedgehog, and 8 deployed hedgehogs pretty much insta give. It's pretty much an insta give this dragon. So we've seen that happen. This run by is not going to get a ton. It's just going to turn into fiends and knock some shroud stones down. Really, that's kind of okay. You'll gladly trade you will gladly trade gold for lives at this point. So north side, that does go, shroud stones go down. The task force gets knocked down here. Meanwhile, dragon, yeah, we're on 2 dragons right now. I looked at the dragon on the left side. I'm like, wait a minute, it didn't have damage taken. No. It's been 5 minutes since the first dragon was brought up, and Elazer has done such a good job of keeping these dragons alive that he's got a second one now. But again, the Exos can target this down. They can be very ornery. So we're going to see a bunch of these imps. We're hearing that little sound like air being let out of balloon, because imps are clearly balloons. It's not placeholder sounds. I swear, imps are clearly balloons. But anyway, SKillous is going to try to take the fight on the high ground. System shock is a necessity to cleanse off this infest to run away and to bring his army together, because a lot of his army is on the north side as he kites away from this one, and it seems like he's going to be fine. I think this base gets canceled. And remember, while Shroud covers the map, and you might be used to creep and say, well, okay, clearly there's vision there. There's not. Shroud does not give vision. It just gives you effectively healing factor on a unit, on a race that has no intrinsic healing whatsoever. So SKillous has to run away. He knocks down the base of Elazer on the north side. He's going to turn this into a full-on base trade. As very quickly these turrets get knocked down. The bobs are going to get pulled away. And these dragons are just infesting on top of everything. And you add 2 dragons on top of it. That's 2 additional fiends getting added in. Infesting. Now, of course, the same type of infest doesn't stack, but Gaunt infest stacks with Dragon infest stacks with Nightfall infestation. So there are potentially just ludicrous amounts of fiends that are going to get spawned as this game goes on, as this pressure continues. So SKillous has knocked down 2 bases out of his opponent. Elazer has knocked down 2 bases off of his opponent here. Now into the natural, there's no Luminite mining. It is just Therium that has been knocked down. But the problem is really, I look at this army, and I am less faithful, or I believe far less in this army of SKillous than I do in this army of Elazer. I think he's just lost too much. I think he's committed too much in these counterattacks, these pseudo-base trades that have really cost him far too much. So now we're going to see how the bobs on this base go down. The command post is going to get killed off, and SKillous is trapped. He can maybe try to system shock out of here, but there is no way that Elazer is going to make this happen. Well, he's going to turn around, though, and SKillous looks like he's trying to angle for a fight on 2 fronts, maybe, or just finding some way to get out. So he's going to engage onto the backside. Man, there are so many Magmadons right now that it does become pretty difficult. And on the left side as well. Now we're going to see some Weavers go down, and, well, it's hiding away for now. So much system shock available. These Exos can actually be so freaking fast. And actually, SKillous is handling this really nicely. He's still sitting on 2 base mining. His opponent is really only on 1 base mining right now, but oh man, Magmadon's getting on top of all of this. The surround is there, and SKillous just loses track of his army for just a moment. Everything gets shut down, and now I don't believe anymore. You know, if SKillous had, I think, immediately beelined right side, gotten his way out, and taken down the bases on the right side on the way out, I think he could have still been actually in a pretty solid spot in this game. But as it stands, his army got trapped against the wall, and this army is incredibly valuable. It's incredibly kiteable. If it's not allowed to kite anymore, well, that's just never going to work out. So SKillous, he falls. Elazer takes game 1. So now we move into game 2. And a reminder, down at the bottom left, of course, SKillous in the blue, Elazer upper right, up 1 in the red. And he played a very cool, very late game number 1. And now we move on to Secluded Grove, which is a map that is different from Broken Crown. And one of my favorite things when we talk about how this goes, and we talk about how the development of Stormgate has been, is that the devs are not afraid to try many different map concepts. You know, obviously they're testing things out. They're trying different things to see what works, what doesn't work. But the fact that we have this Broken Crown is a pretty standard RTS map for the most part. It's got two accesses in the natural, which is weird. Some bases have ores, some bases don't. Okay, fine. Secluded Grove is pretty different, and it's got nothing on Titan's Causeway. It's got nothing on Jagged Maw. But Secluded Grove, of course, is characterized by this Secluded Grove in the middle of the map. It is 2 bases. Someone in chat on Saturday when I was casting this tournament with Nathanius was trying to tell me that Bayo doesn't know what he's talking about. It's clearly 4 bases. 2 Luminite patches, 2 Therium. A standard base has 1 of each. This is 2 bases. If you take this, you have 2 bases. Technically, one can make an argument that if you take this and you get +2 bases and your opponent doesn't, that's -2 bases, so it's a 4 base differential. Okay, sure, fine. You can make that argument. But if you're like the game that I'm thinking about is Lucifron and Elazer on this map, where Lucifron was up a base, Elazer takes this, so he goes up a base, or he ties it up and goes up a base. And if Lucifron had taken the corners, he would have been fine. Now that is okay. That's an acceptable substitute, especially if you're kind of pushing through the middle. But anyway, point being, I am just, math is hard sometimes, you know. Math can be hard sometimes, but so it goes. So let's see where we go. Ooh, I just got some really cool news. I I can't actually go, and I can't talk about it. It's going to be announced early next week, but I just saw some pretty cool duels on the StarCraft front, so that's very exciting. Of course, as much as I'm casting Stormgate right now, I love both RTS. I have dedicated a large portion of my life to both RTS, so I'm sorry for talking about both. But anyways, we're going to see some creeping coming out here out of Elazer early on. You want speed camps. Now, he's not doing the thing where he's cutting through this tree, or actually really more of this tree. It's a little bit wider, and then creeping around. So instead, he's going to take both speed camps on his side of the map. So let's see where we go from here. And by the way, you got to point this out. Elazer, instead of going for a quick third base on the Luminite, is going for a quick third shrine. I don't know that we can call this a third base, but it's a quick third shrine right on top of the Therium as it spawns. So this is actually a super cool thing that you can do. So this is expensive. You've just committed 350 gold to something that will not make you any gold. But notice what he did. He drops the shrine, then he cracks the Therium, which is an evolution actually from when this map was in the ladder pool, in the Devastator build, in the last playtest. As we're gonna see some of these imps, well, they're gonna get harassed by this dog, but they are speed fiends. They are very fast. They got one speed buff on the February 13th patch, and then they got speed on top of that. And well, it's just a little annoying. Is what are these imps doing in the middle? Is this an attempted third base from Elazer? I don't know, but a couple imps will go down. Anyway, the point being is when you go for this is originally the thought was, okay, let me crack these Therium spots as quickly as possible. Let me crack this ore as quickly as possible, because that means by the time I'm mining it, it's going to be enriched. I'm going to be mining it roughly twice as fast. But now the logic goes is like, okay, no, I'm going to drop a shrine really quickly, as these Lancers are going to try to get on top of all these gaunts. Notice the splits away, so the splash, these two range Lancers that do damage in kind of a line in front of them, well, they're not going to be able to splash down things all that much. Even still, a lot of these gaunts are going to go down here. This is a really nice move coming out of SKillous with kinetic redirect, so he gets on top of these, and there really is nowhere for these gaunts to go. They will just eventually fall down, and we see the heal go down as the level 2 veterans or the level 1 veteran C pops up, so the Lancers continue to be obnoxious, to attack much faster and to move much faster and to knock the Shroud Stone down and maybe even take the third base down. But the point is we see what happens right here as we see these imps go, and I'll talk about that in a second, I guess, because SKillous is rudely not letting me talk about mechanics. And instead is like, oh, let me just go kill the game. Let me go in the game right now. And I don't know if that's going to be possible, but he seems very likely to cancel this third base. The gaunts are just not up in significant number to really allow this to happen. And it looks like Elazer either doesn't want to spend it or does not have the animus to manifest the Shroud Stone. So maybe, or no, he doesn't have the Greater Shrine. Okay, yeah, that's what it is. He doesn't have a Greater Shrine, so he cannot manifest the Shroud Stone. Anyway, notice what's happening right here with these imps. There are 9 imps on this Therium, some on the main base as well, but again, he's going to try to get up that Therium count very quickly. But because the shrine's right on the ore patch, it is just, they're mining, they're returning. They're mining, they're returning. It is the fastest possible setup. You mine so freaking efficiently. By the way, Therium flower or flower right here is gonna be a tiny little bit of a bounty. Now actually, you know that, well, there's another one right here as well. So the way this works, secluded so Broken Crown has healing flowers. You can go and they heal you up a little bit. It's like 50 HP, I think, per flower. Secluded Grove does not have that. Secluded Grove has a couple, and can we see any more right now? No, nothing's in vision. Has a couple flowers on the map, but they don't heal you. They heal your economy. They give you, if it's a green flower, it gives you ore. If it's a red flower, it gives you gold. Or it's not a red flower, excuse me. A gold flower gives you gold. Very, very simple right there. Now the Lancers are going to try to dive in once again. Now 2 Shroud Stones are obnoxious, but they don't do a ton of damage to these Lancers. Not all that quickly. So the thing that SKillous has to be afraid of right now is, of course, getting surrounded and getting knocked down. But he's doing such a good job of denying the mining here of Elazer. Meanwhile, a drop on the left side, Lancers are in a pretty solid position to deal with this, but nothing on the main base, not just yet. Medtechs are going to rally on over, but Medtechs don't kill things all that quickly. Meanwhile, Lancers on the other side, some of them will start to fall down, but man, this Lancer's just chasing these gaunts down with extreme prejudice. So yeah, you know, Brutes are actually a lot better against Lancers than gaunts are. Gaunts are kind of seen as this best unit for an Infernal player for several reasons, but well, Brutes are going to say they actually don't take as much damage. They're just tankier. They do more damage in each individual shot. They attack slower. They don't attack at range, but each swipe is just stronger. So as long as the Lancers are not being actively microed, you're kind of fine. Now, if the Lancers are being actively microed, the Lancers actually, because they have 2 range, they can, once they have their passive proc, they can just continue to kite away, and it's very annoying for the Infernal player. As an Infernal player, let me tell you, I'm absolutely tilted by it, but now we're going to see this fight go down once again. Meanwhile, on the other side, SKillous is getting tons of damage. He's getting so many of these imps. He's going to pull off the line once again. More workers are going to go down. And then there's a third base, but there's a Lancer right there that's going to do a lot of damage to it before it pops up. Meanwhile, did we see a recall? Where's our... I think our drop may have died. Now, unless there's something I'm missing, and I don't think that I am. Yeah, okay, that looks like the Doombringer died, so Elazer has no pressure release valve now. He has no ability... He really has no ability to go in and stay on the map and keep SKillous back. So that means that's why we're seeing this army rally across these Exos, these Lancers, Medtechs, I guess, are... Where are these Medtechs? I guess they're staying at home for the time being. But... No, never mind. They're with the front line, so they can start to heal things up. And when you're just on Gaunt Brood, this Exo Medtech Lancer army is super strong. Even you add in a... I mean, adding a Magmadon or 2 really doesn't matter. The Exos can just kite away. We're lacking the upgrade for the Exos, so they're not quite as fast as they might otherwise be. So now, the question doesn't become how can SKillous find a lead? Is he going to take the middle? That is absolutely a way to take a lead. That's 2 bases right there. But more importantly, how can I go and how can I kill SKillous? Or kill Elazer? Because at this point, again, SKillous is in a great spot. He's got this much higher tech army. He's done tons of economic damage. Yes, Elazer has gotten a Hellborn or 2 out. And that does matter. 3 Hellborn, 1 shot at level 1 Exo. I think it's 4 that 1 shot at level 2 Exo. Pretty much for... I don't remember how much 1 upgrade, how much 1 veterancy HP. I know for a Lancer, I think it gives 48 HP. I don't remember if that's the same for an Exo or not. But anyway. Hellborn do a ton of damage to Exos. They really do help out quite a bit. So, Hellborn are going to sit there, and that's going to force, for the moment, SKillous is going to back up. We've got this 3rd base done, or 4th base, 5th base, whatever it is. This double base in the middle of the map, that is complete. He's going to start mining out of that one, rallying Bob's on over from his 3 command posts right now. He hasn't even cracked this Therium. He's on single Therium. Okay, this is not balanced mine, but the fact that you can afford all these Medtechs, 5 Medtechs, tons of Exos, all the upgrades you need on single Therium is... I'm not saying it's broken, but it is very strong. Of course, Vanguard has other issues that they struggle with. That parting imp build is absolutely... It feels... I played 7 games with it last night, and again, I don't have the replay, so... And I didn't really take the time to totally, like, try to scrub back through the VOD and see exactly what the build was. I just kind of guessed, based on what I know of some openers and things. So I was hitting about 45 seconds later. And I went 6-1. Like, that build is very, very strong. As SKillous does have to cut away from this. Magmadons on this front porch are a problem. Meanwhile, drop on the left side is doing a ton of damage. The Buzzsaw turret is nice, but that will eventually get targeted down. Seems like all the Gaunts are dead, though, so it's just the couple Fiends that remain. And meanwhile, the north side here, Exos, Lancers are going to kill this 3rd base out of Elazer. So his economy, again, pretty heavily shattered. By the way, notice some of these Medtechs, they're positioning so they can run away, so they're not going to get trapped up against the trees. If that is going to be the problem, but more imps are going to fall down. Meanwhile, this drop, I thought all the Gaunts went down, but apparently not. So the drop in the main base is going to get a little bit more overcharge on these Bobs, means that they probably won't die, but it is still annoying. And this flak turret, this flak cannon, it looks like it's going to stay out of range, and it's so annoying. This is just a bug, by the way. It will get fixed, but it's so annoying that the Doombringer does not get auto-targeted by turrets, auto-targeted by any unit. So if you A-move on a spot, by the way, like if you have a bunch of Exos and you A-move, or a bunch of Gaunts and you A-move on a spot, they will not target the Doombringer. You have to target it itself, which is just, it's a little bit more, obviously you can do it, and if you think about it, you can do it, but I'm not, if I'm trying to chase a drop down, I'm not thinking about, let me target the drop down specifically. I'm like, I'm going to move to where it's going to be, and I'm going to be fine. So that is kind of a significant problem. Is now through the middle of the map, this third base is going to get broken down, but of course, SKillous has pressure elsewhere. We're going to see the shrine go down. We're going to see so many other things go down, and now the flank on top of the Cellborn on the back line is going to knock that down. That is 250 ore down the drain. It's so expensive in this game, especially as SKillous is, or Elazer's on like a base and a half. One base or 2 base Luminite. Yeah, this army is just, it doesn't matter that there's Shroud. The Shroud is covering the map. Elazer's dead. He is so dead. And we move to game 3. And now it's game 3. We're on to Jagged Maw, which is, oh man, it's so unfortunate. And I'm not saying that SKillous wins, Elazer loses, SKillous wins, whatever it is. I'm not going to say that's the case, but Jagged Maw, over the course of this tournament, had like a 75%, I think, win rate for Infernals over Vanguard. So it's just, it's really strong. These early catapult pushes. I think this map is really good for Vanguard if you can get up to like 5 bases. Yeah, you look at the chokes right now. Atlas is dominate this. The better arcs that you can get as a Vanguard player, the more kind of power per unit that you get as a Vanguard player. They do bleed into. They do favor a choked out map like this. The trick is these catapult pushes, these Doombringer drops right up the top are very, very difficult for a Vanguard player to deal with to get to that point. So for now, it's going to be Conch Expand. It looks like Conclave Expand coming out of Elazer. Again, single Conclave. You're going to take your natural, then you're going to take a second Conclave, and that's just how it goes. And SKillous is trying to be greedy too. He's opening up command post first. He's opening up post first, which means that he's going to have a ton of economy. Certainly. The question is whether that is going to be enough economy to survive the eventual hit, the eventual onslaught coming out of our Infernal player. Because again, you can mine out these spires in the middle of the map. They go away. They get knocked out, and then suddenly you get a massive push going through the middle, kind of before the Vanguard players are ready to build their units. Is the thing. Infernal, they get production structures faster. Vanguard, they get them later on. They spend their money on other things a little bit. So, and also because of how much quicker you can build production structures, it makes sense to delay them as quick as possible. Now, for an Infernal player, it takes so long for your production structures to get built. But once they're up, it's kind of okay if they're not in constant production, because you can go and you can build up charges, and it's fine. You can bank them a little bit. So the incentive there is on the Vanguard player to go and build their barracks just a little bit later, because they can quick build them, they can overcharge quick build them, and get them up in about 2 shakes of a pig's tail. But, you know, again, it's different ways the races work. It's kind of funny, actually. Parting, after he played in this tournament, after he won this tournament, no spoilers, I guess, but anyway, he popped up on stream and he was just like, look, Vanguard players are dumb if they're not winning. Let me show you all this broken stuff I can do. So, for example, you can put barracks right up against this cliff and rally them right here, and then whatever you're making spawns on the bottom side, and you can do these really crazy pseudo proxies, and you can send overcharged mobs into the natural to go build your command post and immediately take the resource camp, because the mobs take no damage, and they take 50% damage and they do double damage. A whole host of crazy things. As Elazer's going to try to take the siege camp. Now, there's a spot. I don't know if Elazer knows this, but there's a spot. It's about right here. Now, he's just going to kite it out because he has the APM for it. But there's a spot you can just put your gaunts at, and they will not take damage, and they will just kite out this. They will kite out this camp, and you'll be fine. You can deal with other things. It is the you just put them like right on leash range. So, which is kind of cool, right? That you can do that. It really matters not on this map, but it matters on Secluded Grove, because you can go and you can take both camps, both speed camps, and that mattered more when there were 5 camps, 5 goats a camp, not 3. But you can take both speed camps at the same time and build yourself six fiends very, very quickly, because again, you just kind of put the gaunt in a certain spot and don't worry about it. Take it off your hotkey and just let it cook. So that's going to happen. Is now we're going to see the middle of the map get cut right on through here, opening up a gap for the catapult, of course. And, well, there's a Hornet, and Hornets are really solid. I think they're the way you want to open right now, but this Hornet is going to pop the shield, is going to try to kill so many of these gaunts, and we'll chase them down. And there we go. There's Veteran CISO. It's going to attack just a little bit faster, but eventually as the shield goes down, the Hornet has to retreat back home, and, Well, there's a second Hornet on the map. We're going to see target fire on this catapult. I think it might go down. Maybe. No, it's not. Well, we're going to see the sentry post and buzzsaw turret. It's going to be really nice. This catapult may actually just go down before it's ready, but a lot of fiends are going to get spawned on these bobs that are mass repairing. Catapult's dead, sure, fine, but the buzzsaw turret is soon to fall, and that is a ton of fiends available. Surrounds on top of these lancers, but the thing is, of course, with these Hornets, they can try to target down the gaunts. They can do what they can, and by the way, well, there's a second Hornet here. Return to hangar, of course, does heal things up quicker, but it does lock you into it. It means you can't do all that much more. So single Hornet. This Hornet needs to be fighting. I don't know if this is bugged, but SKillous should be fighting with this Hornet. I'm willing to assume as actually this goes down. Yeah, I guess it wasn't bugged because it's gonna fight now. That was just one veteran Lancer that SKillous is not fighting with, and that is a significant problem. He needs every single unit to hold on against this. And honestly, I think if he has two Hornets there, he's got one veteran Hornet fighting there, I think he's fine. He gets the catapult down very quickly. I think his buzzsaw turret maybe survives a little bit longer, but as it stands, SKillous is kind of dead. Yeah, this Hornet is feasting. It's level 2 right now. It's killing these gaunts so quickly. There's nothing really to repair. There's no hangar bay to retreat back to, and now the hangar bay is dead. So I like the idea. Man, this Hornet is so very... It cannot take another gaunt shot. That is the long and short of it. Another Hornet does pop out, of course, but there's no repair. So SKillous is dead. I mean, he's hanging on for as long as possible because he needs to win this series to qualify. But if that level 1 Hornet that he sent out first had pulled off the hangar a little bit faster, which again, you know, is you cannot micro it while it's returned to hangar, but if it had, once it was ready, if he'd used it immediately, I think he holds. Even still, SKillous is going to fall. Elazer takes game 3, but man, game 1. What an incredible game 1.